Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 730. It is September 1st, 2022, and I'm your host, Nick Henderson. I'm joined tonight by Brad Simons.
How's it going, everybody?
Nolan Hedstrom.
How's it going, everybody?
It's Christopher Guthridge.
Hello, I hate it when you both say the same thing before me, because then it's like such a dilemma of whether or not I should continue the bit or do my own thing, and I just fucking hate it.
I was kind of hoping you'd continue the bit. But anyways, Chris Davis as well.
How's it going, everyone?
See, no, it does. You should have just done your own thing.
That's not what they said.
You can't. That is not what they said. But you can't also break the bit and then have the next person just try and restart the bit.
You fucked it up. You doubly fucked it up.
Especially when you try to restart the bit, but you get one word wrong. Like, wow.
Just big fail. Anyways, we got a great show for you tonight, guys. We got stuff to talk about. Before we get into the video games, I have some housekeeping this week. First, I want to start with announcing the winner of the Revival Club. We've been doing a community bracket for the past 3 or 4 weeks. We started with 16 games nominated by the community. Brad looks like he wants to say something. What's up?
Oh, can I say? Well, yeah. Go ahead and announce
the winner first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Announce it first, then Brad can come clean about how you rigged it.
All right.
I didn't rig it. I didn't even want it to win, you wiener.
Yeah, which is weird. It sounds strange, especially when you
just say it so I can explain.
Alpha Protocol won the poll with 65.5% of the vote. It was up against the Saboteur,
which was embarrassing.
That was the final pairing. What?
This is. I want to say that like it came up recently and sort of became memeified because I guess a lot of stuff, does happen when it blows up in our Discord or whatever. It sort of becomes a meme thing, and I was frustrated. I was always trying, it comes up often where we're shocked that Chris Davis hasn't played something, right? And it came up because I was shocked. I almost threw this one out as a joke, like, surely he's played Alpha Protocol. And then he's like, no, I haven't played Alpha Protocol, which is absurd, right? Because he's into, like, spy stuff, and it's a spy RPG.
It's not absurd. Remember when that game came out?
Shh. It's a spy RPG. And he loves, like, Splinter Cell and spy fiction, and he just loves that crap, right? And it came out around the time as Alan Wake and Red Dead Redemption, but we all played those games, and some of us still played Alpha Protocol. That's besides the point. And it doesn't matter. He backtracked anyways and still tried to come up with excuses for why then and maybe even now he still doesn't want to play Alpha Protocol. But the point is, it was never supposed to be about Revival Club. And when it came down, this was a community chosen like bracket and like voting competition thing where the community members submitted games to be in the bracket. I don't know who added Alpha Protocol. It definitely wasn't me. And at the time when people were talking about adding their games, I was not suggesting Alpha Protocol. And I was voting against Alpha Protocol the entire time. I really wanted, something else to win. On that side, I really wanted Beautiful Joe to win, and I was kind of hoping that Mercenaries would beat Saboteur, honestly, because I've not played much Mercenaries, and I was curious. But yeah. So
I could be wrong.
So Alpha Protocol won because of a meme, but I was not encouraging it. I was actively fighting against it, but it is what it is. I think it's a good game for this.
Do you want to know who actually nominated it? Sure. I can probably figure that out here pretty quick. But also, I think it's worth pointing out that I have also never played Alpha Protocol, and it's been a game that I've been curious about.
At first I was like, yeah, but whatever. You weren't playing like jank, whatever. Like this was more about Chris Davis. This was never about Nick. But then I thought about it, and I know you love like Bourne and Bond and Bauer, the
three.
3 Bs. No, not
No,
Bauer,
not
but
Bauer.
you like
Bond.
Mission Impossible or whatever, right? So you love
Yeah.
all this dumb spy shit too. The crazy thing at the
How
time,
dare
Alpha
you.
Protocol was modeled after like the original Mass Effect. Like the entire skill system was ripped right from Mass Effect. Like that was the hot shit in Western RPGs at the time. And Obsidian, who often they've made a lot of sequels to like Bioware games, well at least Neverwinter and KOTOR and stuff. It was like their take on Mass Effect, but a spy RPG and whatever. Point is,
I have it.
It's like a really flawed game, but there are things that it does that are like truly amazing, truly compelling, and I think like probably still will seem really fresh. So I will say, if you're going into this game, maybe like heavily invest in the stealth skill tree, because it makes the combat system a little less jank. If you go guns a blazing, you're probably not going to have a good time. But we'll talk about that in Discord. It's still like a
so real quick,
cult classic.
it was actually Freyhim who nominated Alpha Protocol, and when asked why he nominated it, he said because this game not only has genres that not a lot of video games had made by making an because this game not only has genres that not a lot of video games made. Sorry, the sentence is kind of broken, but also it's a game that has so many different outcomes with the number of NPCs that you're going to be interacting with. So.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm interested.
The conversation system is like really cool, because usually when you play a game with a dialogue system, you're trying to play like a character, right? But in that game, it's all about like, having all these like relationships with all these like questionable people, and it's about being the character that person would most like to associate with. So you're actually like changing your dialogue character based on who you're talking to, which, believe it or not, isn't done very often or at all.
Right.
So it's cool.
So I'll set up a channel in Discord for Alpha Protocol. We'll start talking about logistics. It is kind of a harder game to get your hands on. If you're planning on going the PC route, we'll talk about options there. If you have a PS3 or an Xbox 360, it's fairly simple. That might be something I look into, but honestly, I'd probably rather try and figure out a way to go
The PC version is a lot better.
It's kind of a weird situation because it was delisted at some point, but there are ways around that. So we'll talk about that in Discord.
Yes, there are, Nick.
If you're interested in being a part of the Revival Club and playing this game, talking about it, and maybe being a guest on a podcast when I sit down to talk about our time with this game, go to patreon.com/4Player. You can support us at the $3 tier or higher, or you can just subscribe to our Twitch channel. Either way, you should get access to the Discord channels that you need. Next on the agenda, I want to quickly mention that I have received 3 codes to give away for a little game called Anno Mutationum, which just came out on Switch.
I love 4X games.
I talked about this game a few months ago. I played it on PC. Yeah, sorry, I'm just breezing right past that.
I appreciate
Brad,
your joke, Brad.
Well, at least one of us does. But yeah, the developer of Anno Mutationum sent me 3 codes for the Switch because the game is getting its Switch release. So I wanted to give that away to members of the community. And we're gonna do this, just real casual. Like I'm gonna give away 1 per week for the next 3 weeks, I think. And the way I'm gonna do this is if you want to leave a comment on either the post for the site, for the podcast on the site, or you can go to the video on YouTube and leave a comment there. Tell us what your Jimmy of the year is so far. Just tell us what, the little underrated Jimmy that snuck under your radar that you think more people should play that came out in 2022 and why. And then also just to make sure we know that you're interested in the giveaway, put like giveaway entry in your comment. That way I know that you're one of them. And I'll keep an eye on that, and then I'll announce the winner, and I'll send you the code.
Yeah, so people don't get their comments mixed up with all the other comments we're gonna have.
Hey, speaking of comments, you bastard, God damn it, Brett. I actually wanted to read comments this week. I've said it a lot. I know sometimes I just miss reading feedback or comments and whatnot, but I definitely want to encourage people to leave comments. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think of the conversations we're having on the show. Send us your opinion on stuff.
Sorry to interrupt. It's just on the top of my head. And I know we're not the, if you haven't noticed, the biggest YouTube channel out there. But I know it's been going around a lot. If we are going to be contacting them via like whatever method, we're not going to ask for money.
Yes.
Remind,
No.
because there's been a lot of that shit going on lately. If you leave a comment for the prize and we tell you you won, we will not ask you for any kind of money.
Yes.
Don't
Put that
get
out there.
scammed.
Yes,
We'll just-
please don't get
yeah.
scammed.
Yes,
Right.
please. But yeah, and someone said they left a comment last week and they were disappointed that we didn't read it. So I wanted to make sure we did that this week. And there's sometimes there are comments on stuff we talk about. Sometimes they're just nice things that people say. So why not? Let's go ahead and do this. Twig City commented and said, "Brad has convinced me that I will officially be playing Who Do You Voodoo every Halloween for the rest of my life." There you
There
go,
you
Brad.
go. There
She-
you
You
go.
know
changed-
what? I was moved as well. And
Did you go? Did you go listen to it?
during that podcast I started listening to, and I was like, you know what? This slaps a little harder than I remember.
There we go.
Not a lot
There
of
we
good
go.
Halloween options out there, sadly.
And it's solid.
Yeah. I also want to give a shout out to Kid Dracula 44. He says, "I used to listen to your podcast way back in the day on my old iPod when I was a teenager, and a few months ago I decided to check it out and was happy to see that y'all were still on Apple Podcasts. I have been listening to the show for while I'm at work, and I'm really glad that I decided to start listening again. Makes my day 10 times better. You guys are great. Never stop. Best podcast out there." Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. Faxwell said, "Regarding Chivos, while I do enjoy going for them, what I really like about having my collection is not for others to see, but for me to reflect on. I like how Chivos create a time capsule of your history with the time, date, and even a screenshot when you achieved it. For how many years did I put down Horizon, and when did I 100% it? What did I play throughout 2018, and in what order? Did I start with Yakuza 0 or Kiwami 2? I just like to scroll through my Chivos sometimes and reminisce." That's a good point. I often forget that's a thing that my system does. It's funny. I pulled up my so Robin came in here when I was playing Sifu the other day, and she just kind of like pulled up my trophy list to see what was going on, and she pointed out, she's like, "Oh my God, Nick, you're so close. On Horizon Forbidden West, I'm at 90% towards the platinum," and I was like, "Oh, I can't just like not go back and do that now. It's like 4 Chivos, and they're all just tied to like side quests and shit." And I've already, you're muted, Chris Davis.
I want to say I got the platinum. Need to look it
I mean,
up.
apparently it was not that hard of a platinum. I just kind of naturally got to that point, so I'm probably gonna go back and get the platinum on that baby. But yes, thank you for writing in, Faxwell. Full Dark Gear says, "Something like Pikmin would be fun to see on the Revival Club. Also, I'm down to see Dead Rising come back. I'm also down to see Dead Rising come. I think Dead Rising has actually come up in conversations about for the Revival Club before, and I wouldn't be surprised that it appears on future polls. By the way, people seem to be really into the bracket thing, so like maybe that's just going to be how we do this from now on. I don't know. It
Well,
was
but
fun.
they do. They don't populate the bracket every time, right? Sometimes we will, but they just vote.
Sometimes
That's just their preferred voting style.
Yeah.
Or we can do a bracket where it's like staff versus community. You know what I mean? That could
But
be
we
fun.
don't actually tell them whether
Yeah.
it's staff or community of the game.
The only problem with the bracket system is like sometimes, like let's say, like the Saboteur, Alpha Protocol, and Beautiful Joe were in a poll, right? You might have like the 360 shooting nerds like battling it out and taking each other's votes away, right? And then Beautiful Joe rises to the top. That might not happen in a bracket system, tourney system.
right.
So
We'll see what
you know
happens.
how our community
Just know
loves
people have been
their
really into it.
360 shooty jimmies.
Yeah.
Tell you
But,
what, if we did Dead Rising, I don't think we should do the original. I think we ought to do Dead Rising 2 off the record. Because I don't think a whole lot of people actually played that game.
Well, maybe you should nominate it for a future bracket. But anyways, guys, like I said, leave us comments. I'd love to read more of these on the show, whether that's on the YouTube channel or in the comments on the post on 4playernetwork.com. If there's some there, I'll read those too. Just let us know what you think. Share your thoughts. And also, Animutationum, if you're interested in playing that game on the Switch and you want a code, don't forget, leave a comment, write giveaway entry in there so I know that you're interested, and we'll see how that goes. Now, Sorry, that was a lot of housekeeping, more than we normally have. But we don't have a ton of game impressions to talk about tonight, except we have Immortality, which is kind of a big release.
Which is question mark a video game?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's... Ooh. You tell me. I don't know. I'm going to let y'all kind of just take it away on this. I haven't started this myself yet. I downloaded it. It's on Game Pass.
Yep.
And
Crispy being the huge film buff that who called you last week, Nick, was like Crispy's gonna love Immortality because he's the film buff.
I mean, I assumed as much.
So let me start by saying go ahead, Crispy.
I'm just saying, the only reason, before you guys start implying anything, the only reason I haven't started this yet is because I had to pay rent today, and I don't have other money.
I'm gonna get like Crispy like a month subscription to Game Pass. Can you do that? Can you get like a month, just a single month?
You can.
I'm gonna give Crispy a single month of Game Pass, just to make sure he plays Immortality, because this seems like
Is this on Game Pass?
It is.
Yeah.
So let me start by saying, this is a game by Sam Barlow. So Her Story and Telling Lies, which Nick is playing currently. I kind of avoided this, learning anything about it, besides the fact that it's the new Sam Barlow game. So I went in completely blind. I didn't even know it was about. And here's my spoiler less as I can say. It's about an actress is the core main character throughout a couple, some time in her career. Similarly to Her Story or Telling Lies, you are not watching things chronologically. You are finding random video clips, some of them of her behind the scenes, doing a rehearsal for a scene. Some seems like it's the actual like filming of the scene itself. Some is just some like almost like home movie footage.
Talk show footage.
Main difference, correct. The main difference in between this game and his previous ones is Her Story and Telling Lies. It's all text based. There is no text in this besides like subtitles. The way you find things in this game is by clicking on people and objects in the footage, and it will find other bits of footage that have the same thing, person, whatever in them. So you can click on a coffee cup or, the main character or, something else. And so it is all about, you can click on a boob if you want to. And let me tell you, there's a fucking lot of them. And I had to restart this footage like 5 times because the problem is you don't know where the footage is going to take you. And I'm just watching. Was there a lot of
boobs because you were clicking on boobs?
No. And so
no shame.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny because honestly, the beginning of the footage I have right now, it's actually like 10 seconds earlier in that scene were boobs, but I didn't know they were coming. And honestly, I almost missed it because it's very artsy, a lot of the stuff. And so like a woman walks up and she has like paint on her boobs. I didn't realize it was like that at first. But anyway, so that being said.
Can you filter by boobs?
But that's the thing. You can't search. You can only find clips by clicking on things. So yes, you can click on boobs in a scene.
It'll take you to more boobs?
Yes.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes something thematically
10
similar
out of
to
10?
boobs.
Okay, so that was my question. I was like, if you're clicking on the boobs, does it interpret that as you clicking on boobs or just clicking on the person that they are attached to?
Boobs.
Okay,
sometimes.
So boobs. So that's the thing. I don't know how the back end of this works. My assumption is No, it is not. This is a scene from one of the films. But anyway,
Passion of the Christ.
I'm just kind of trying to figure out how the back end of this game works. My assumption is, hold on,
it's insane. It's insane.
I know it's probably crazier than I think it is.
No idea.
My assumption is it's all based on every frame. It literally frame, not a scene. Literally every frame, every object
of 3
in there
full movies
is given like a name. So in this case, like I could click on, and I think I do in the footage that we're watching. I click on his cross. So it takes me to another cross. But at one point, I clicked on, there was like a one of those like old time like masks, like a white mask with just like the eyes cut out, like a theater mask. And I click on it, and it took me to a scene, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? Like, where did this take me?" And I realized it took me to an eye mask. So it took me to another object that it was the same thing, but obviously a little bit different. But the thing is, you'll notice that you can click on things that are you only have a limited number of things you can click on in any given time you pause it. And Mr. Greentos is saying in the with the controller, you can tap on the D-pad and it will highlight around. You can do something similar on keyboard and mouse, which is what I'm playing on.
Okay.
And when you pause it and you go into that screen, you can kind of, there's like an eye icon, and that will tell you everything in this like literal frame that you can interact with to take you somewhere else. Now, it's not always going to take you to the same place, and you can literally go a couple frames further, and an object that has now become in a different orientation, it will try to take you to something that is in that orientation.
All right. Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
Can I jump in here? Okay. I find this game to be, especially when I first started, to be like insanely overwhelming, because every time you jump to something, you're going to a completely different scene and maybe a completely different movie, or maybe not even a movie, just a conversation two of the actors are having like in a bar or something, right? It's so, every time you do that, it's creating like another video file, like all these clips are just populating all over this interface you have, and you have very limited control and like sort options over like how you manage that stuff. So the more like curious you get, the more organically you're trying to like explore these scenes and jump from scene to scene to scene to scene. Like, you're just trying to figure out what's going on, but then you go back to the interface and there's just like a million clips, and it's like, it's insanely overwhelming. And my first experience with this game was like frustrating. It was overwhelming, and I made a huge mistake of playing this on a TV with a controller that was kind of busted. The dead zones were fucked because you have control over the reels to like rewind and fast forward, and you were doing that with the analog stick, and I was having stick drift issues, and it was making it so frustrating, and I could barely hear, right? Because I was playing at night, and when you play at night in my house, you know, when something loud's happening, you turn the TV down. When you can't hear someone talking, you're turning it up. Let me tell you, that's not the way to play this game. I was really not having a good time, and it wasn't till like a session, and it wasn't till like this really crazy moment happened that I was like, okay, I have to keep playing this game. That was insane. It was like some Lynchian shit, like seriously. And so, like I didn't know this stuff was going to happen, but let me say, the next night I was like, okay, we have to play more. And I started playing again on the couch in the TV, and I was getting so frustrated. I was like, I don't know what anybody's saying. I could barely hear. Like, I shut it off, and I was like, it might be weeks before I played this again. I was so upset. And then I sort of cooled off a little bit. I went into my office, which is right next to the baby's room. I don't usually play games in there anymore. I dragged a chair in there because Malia's playing with me. We both put headphones on. I was using the mouse. I was this close to the screen. And let me tell you, once I did that, I was so much more invested, because you're not just jumping around like in non-chronological order. You're jumping around to like different movies. And let me tell you, watching like a 5-minute scene from a movie, a random movie, is not like not only is it not coherent, it's like sometimes it's like super boring, because I don't even know what this fucking movie's about. And you want me to watch this 5-minute scene and try to put this story of all of this shit together? This game requires a lot of effort and attention and just, you know, desire of the player to like figure this stuff out. And if you're not invested with headphones, really paying attention, I could see this game easily getting lost on people in a way that Her Story and Telling Lies never did. Because, you know, clicking around, you don't feel like you're in control really when you're clicking around to these random things. In Her Story, you were typing in stuff, you know, and same with Telling Lies. Like, you really felt like a detective. Here, it's more like exploratory. And I could see like people not really digging that control, but I'm not surprised he did something like this. And the reason I think that is because when I think back to Telling Lies, when you would jump to like you would click on a someone would say something, right? And you could like search that term and find other videos where that word was like uttered. And when you click on that video, it goes to the moment in that video when they said that word, not the beginning of that video. And they wouldn't give you a button that let you skip to the beginning. And the reason, and rewinding was very slow. And the reason they did that is because is because I don't think that Sam Barlow wants you to like go to every clip and watch them from the beginning. He wants you to play these games more organically. And I think that's why he made a game where it's like you're not even searching words. You're just exploring objects and scenes, and you're just he's forcing you to like put this shit together organically. And I think that's going to turn a lot of people off, but I think a lot of people are going to be maybe like just like grabbed by what's going on, because like these are three, like it's kind of fascinating to look at. Like these movies feel like they're from very different eras, and like some of these characters, like especially the lead character, like it's compelling, like she's a good actress, and like the material is crazy, and then stuff starts getting crazy and you really want to keep going. But
is this the main character on the screen right now?
Yes.
The one that
it is.
I was like, I kept thinking, my brain kept going, is this Anya Taylor-Joy?
Dude, it does look like her. Okay, I'm jumping in. Fuck you, Brad. Okay, so a couple of things I want to say. It's hard to talk about this game without getting into spoilers. I think describing it as David Lynchian is very apt and correct.
God.
The thing is, if previous games, people, Brad was even telling Nick, download a mod to let you skip back to the beginning of the clip, right? They actually give you that ability in this to skip to the beginning or the end. There's buttons for it. But the thing is, he was like, fuck you, I'm going to give you a reason to not use those. So while they do exist, without getting into spoilers, you might not always want to use them. I don't want to get into it. But yes, David Lynchian, there are some... I would liken it to... Hold on. I would liken it to The Witness, where there are things in this that happen that you will go over multiple times and never notice, but then something will click, and all of a sudden, holy shit, you'll be going back to the hundreds of clips you've seen before, looking for things you never were looking for before. And it is like maddening. And that's one of the reasons I only got a few minutes of footage, is because I was trying not to encounter certain things while I was capturing footage. And that's why I just let at the end of this footage, I ended up just going to some scenes that I knew were kind of not spoilery, just to let them play out. So
there was a moment on that first night, or like kind of the moment, and I'm frustrated, right? And Malia's getting frustrated, or she's getting frustrated with me because I'm getting frustrated, right? And so like I'm kind of like running back and forth trying to get my controller situation fixed. She leaves the room briefly as I'm kind of fucking with stuff, because I'm like, you don't even need to be here. Fuck it. Neither of us know what's going on. I'm just gonna keep watching this, right? And I did this thing, and I was like, what the fuck? Get back in here. You got to see this. Get back in here. Get back in here. Get back in here. Like this is the same. Some crazy just happened, and then I tried to like reproduce it, and it was like, wait a minute, that's not even what happened a second ago. What is going on?
Yes,
and
yes.
It's crazy.
So I will say, so hold up. I will say, as you mentioned earlier, this game is definitely not for everybody. I understand that there are going to be people who don't like it. I've already seen people online complaining about it. But like you had said earlier about the main actress being a good actress, they're all fucking good actors. Because the thing is, if you watch this, there are many, many scenes that, as if it were a scene in a movie or whatever, that there's no cuts in any of these, because that is all footage. So there are like 5-minute scenes where a shit ton of stuff, dialogue, lines are going, and they don't cut. They do the entire scene. And I almost start thinking like, oh my God, how many times did they have to record this to get this like 5-minute segment? But it's not one or two of those. It is dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of very long chunks of these quote actors. And sometimes they are acting in a movie, but sometimes they are just their character. But obviously it's a person who is doing this. And so it is very interesting.
Sometimes they're doing a scene, but then you think, are they dropping out of character, or was that in the movie? What is going on here? And like it was really exciting to me the first time like I watched like this table read or whatever. It wasn't even at a table. It was just like they're on the scene but in their regular clothes, they're reading from the thing, right? And like when I found the scene of them actually acting that out or whatever, I was like, oh, this is really exciting, because I already heard this and now I get to see what it looks like. And I don't know. I mean, if you're like a cool guy like Crispy who likes film, you should probably play this fucking game 2 days ago, bitch.
So, Crispy,
hold on.
Sorry,
He already said. He already said.
I know.
Wait, Crispy.
Classist.
Crispy, just so you know, you can get a month of Game Pass right now for $1.
You could get a month of Game Pass for $1 for years.
I just tried to gift Crispy that thing for $1, and then realized that when you try to gift it to somebody, it charges you the full price. I can't gift you the $1. You have to redeem the $1. I almost sent you 3 months worth of fully priced Game Pass on accident.
Just
So
Venmo
that
him
would have been
$2.
horrible. Okay, hold on. I still want to talk about the game just like a little bit more. So
I can't watch your footage, by the way, because
and that's
I don't
fine.
want
That's
to.
I don't think any of this is quote spoilery. And that's why I tried to make sure that was the case in the footage. But here's the thing: is even if you're watching a scene that you don't have in your game, good luck finding it. It's one of those things where you can't just go to it; you have to organically find it. So one of the things I will say is the beginning of the game does mention, hey, like kind of a lot of content, maybe trigger warnings in this
Oh,
because
yeah.
it goes fucking places.
Yeah.
It is. I could understand how it could make some people upset. I understand how it could maybe turn some people off. I will also say that a lot of the game quote takes place in like the 70s, so there's a lot of like kind of sexism and being like kind of misogynistic, and even I'm like, ugh, like I get that they're like what the point is, but still like, and there's some other stuff that I don't want to get into the spoilers of
I think
what
they're
it
doing
is.
some interesting stuff with that as well,
Mhm.
in terms of subverting expectations.
just a quick question: these so obviously, so the whole game is built around the concept of watching these clips from 3 different movies. Did you made it sound a minute ago like are all 3 of these movies watchable from start to finish?
Well, is anything
I
watchable
don't
from
know.
start to finish? You have some controls over like grouping and sorting a little bit, but it's like, and a lot of the footage is not actually stuff from the movies. It's a table read or
Oh,
If,
okay.
if you're asking if you could rearrange these clips in this game to form a full like movie from start to finish, I don't think so. But also, don't quote me because I've only played the game for maybe 6 hours, so I don't know. There might be. I honestly don't know.
Or I wonder if it's one of those situations where he knew what clips he needed to make the story that you are playing make sense. But like he's like, but you don't have to piece these together to make sense. So like he's like, maybe Sam Barlow doesn't even really know what like the actual plot of these movies are because they don't actually piece
That's
together.
I would say
I want
there's
to.
at least in the scenes I've seen, each movie has a plot. So you can kind of figure out what the main overarching thing is. It's just maybe the scene you're watching, you don't know what's going on.
Right.
I think a lot of people will bounce off, but I assure you, you will have never played anything like this, and it still to me seems this game seems impossible to make. Like I was even when like Her Story and Telling Lies were doing things, I was like, how do you make this when you can type any word that is said here? And now it's like visual like imagery and stuff. It to create like a structure around that seems insane. But I think this structure is a lot looser because Her Story and Telling Lies had this thing where you can only see like the first 5 videos in chronological order based on when something was said. Here, you're just going places. And I've heard some complaints, and I might agree with them a little bit. Because you do feel like this is less of a detective game than those first 2 games were, which I think are like great quote unquote detective games. Here, this is more about just prying at the edges of
Like think about it like this. In theory, you could watch all of these clips in chronological order, and I don't want to say it wouldn't be interesting, but it might be kind of boring. It's more about the discovery and finding out things because you are jumping not only to different, but it's across like decades.
Right.
It's not just like a
It's
year in the life.
kind of a
You're jumping all around.
it's kind of a
You get
magical illusion that they've created here just by the nature of like how you're viewing them and like how they're asking you to view them and make revelations and decisions and stuff like that.
it'd be
In and of itself,
frustrating though. Like you can get really invested into like one of the movies and like a certain group of the characters or whatever, and then through like that organic exploration, it will jump to like the middle of a scene of a movie. Like, no, I don't want to see a scene from Ambrosia right now. I'm trying to figure out Minsky. Like that feeling can be really frustrating. But
I know this is gonna potentially upset Brad when I say this out loud. But of all 3 Sam Barlow games, this one seems like the most compelling to me.
so
I
so
know,
Telling What Lies is the one that seemed
I
the
mean,
most
maybe
compelling before, and now.
no. I mean, of the 2 that I had, it seemed like it. I don't even want to say Telling Lies seemed like the most compelling of the 2. It seemed like it was the one that looked like I was in the mood to play the most.
I gotta tell you,
Well,
I fucking bounced on Telling Lies so hard.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot of people did, which is why I was begging him to try.
I cannot.
Her story is the most approachable and the most universally loved.
It's just so like what you're talking about, like that sifting through it and sitting with it for a while and like giving it your attention. Like, yeah, I get that, but like when you're being asked to watch nonsense, like,
Yeah, that's the difference,
how
right?
do you do
telling
it?
lies,
Like-
telling lies is like the way
Telling
telling lies
is,
was made
like,
is impressive.
Like, how long do you have to be in telling lies before like anything that these people are talking about, these half conversations that you're listening to, half conversations, make any sense at all? Like
A lot. But the problem is telling lies feels like even when you finish the game and it comes together, it's still kind of a dumb story. It's hard to be invested in that because like compared to this, it feels cheap. Like telling lies, I think is the least interesting of his games. It's not as like, again, like maybe challenging as this, but like the stuff they're doing here seems like so much more like
experimental.
It's like it's just fancier. Telling lies is literally just watching a bunch of Skype calls, and the grander story was kind of dumb anyways. But here it's like I'm fascinated by how insane this stuff is.
I feel bad about that too because I fucking loved her story. Her story, like, just fucking did my head in so bad. Like,
I will say her story and from her story to Immortal, those are very different games now. Immortality. I think you could both really like Immortality, especially you, Crispy.
I'm downloading it right now.
If you have appreciation for different eras of film, I think there's a lot to appreciate here. But this is there's a chance that anybody could bounce off of this. I really though.
I don't know, and this is maybe just more of the result of just like time management and not having having so many games to play. But like, I don't know if I'll end up going back to Telling Lies. I still have it installed. I installed Her Story and Telling Lies at the same time. So
I will say, Nick, and I'm not trying to dissuade you from playing Telling Lies. I enjoyed my time with it. I think it's also one of those things where I played it with Bernadette, similar to Her Story and this, because we have that back and forth. We can kind of bounce ideas off each other. We can, like she'll often like, take notes or something, and I'll be like, hey, who was that one thing? And she'll like, and so I think I enjoyed that. I will say Telling Lies is my, so far, I obviously haven't finished this one, so I don't know where this one's going to rank yet. This one, obviously, just fresh in my mind is what's, is the intrigue.
Right.
I would say this one's the top in Her Story. I would say Telling Lies is below them, but I'm not saying it's bad. And if you bounce off it and it's not your thing, that's fine. I wouldn't say give up on it, though.
This is not a note. I haven't taken a single note in this game. This is not that kind of game. Not anymore. You don't take notes. There's no reason to take notes. You just stick your feelers out into the universe. It's not that type of game. This is very art house, and I think a lot of people could bounce off of it because of that. Like, yeah, I don't know. But Her Story's great. Her Story's great.
Well, it's funny. My PC currently has all 3 of Sam Barlow's games installed right now. I could jump into any one of them at this very moment.
Again, I can't stress enough: wear headphones, and be 100% there. Otherwise, you will bounce off of this maybe more than any other game.
My God, every time a scene changes in this thing, my brain jumps to one of the actors and goes, "Is that? No, it's not." I just thought the guy was Andrew Lincoln.
I can see it. I can see it.
There's a dude in here who looks just like the guy from Walking Dead.
That's Andrew Lincoln.
That's him. John. You're talking about the character.
I didn't know the actor's name, but when I saw I was for sure it was him.
Yeah, it wasn't. I was like Anya Taylor-Joy, Andrew Lincoln. There was at least one other person. I was like, is that who I think it is? But it's never the person I think it is. All right. Well, Immortality. It's out now on Game Pass. Looks pretty cool. I would love to find a way to play this with Robin too, but
I think this game has a mobile release too. Really? Am I imagining that?
Like one of those things where like someone can be on their phone, like
No. I think this game is on a phone. I think you can play this on a phone.
Is that guy is that guy with the mustache? Is that the dude from House of the Dragon, the king?
I don't think
It's
so.
possible.
You know who I'm
not
talking
sure.
about? Or the
I mean,
guy
there
from
are like Telling Lies had known actors. I mean, this might that too.
No, I know. It's just
I'm
funny
kind
how
of
many
bad with
times
faces, and let me tell you, this is not a good game to be bad with faces, because I'm like I was thinking a character because of jumps was like this not the same as another character. And Malia's like, no, that's a completely different person, and I'm like, I'm never gonna figure this out.
Yeah. It's I'm excited to play more. Like I said, I would love to have kind of a spoiler,
Oh yeah,
not a full
this is
episode,
a
maybe
must
just
play.
like a half hour, just like a real quick kind of talk about it once we all play it, because there's a lot of things I've yet to talk about, because yeah.
just the
Yeah.
knowing that we might have that conversation gives me some extra motivation to go and make sure I play this.
Makes me want to
Cool.
watch some Twin Peaks or something.
There we go. I
Lost
still
time.
haven't watched that show all the way through. I should probably do that, huh?
I will say
Immortality. All right.
another, and sorry to kind of like go, like one of the things, because you can play stuff in forwards and reverse. Like it's very interesting, like when you're winding it, because the audio is like backwards, so it gives me
Yeah.
the David Lynch like vibes from whatever, like when they're talking backwards or whatever.
I still also haven't watched Mulholland Drive. Should I watch that?
That's like one of my favorite movies. You should absolutely watch Mulholland.
I had a tough time with that movie.
Yeah, it's tough. It took me 3
No,
watches.
Crispy's
we
got
used
that
to
maniacal smile.
like watch that movie weekly for months, and like the
Yeah.
DVD had like a little insert with it. Like, I swear to God, this did more damage to me than any other, like, anything else I've consumed media wise. But like, had this little insert that was just like, here's David Lynch's clues for figuring out Mulholland Drive, and it's like a bullet point list of like 10 things to look for or think about or questions to answer while you're watching the movie. And it is such a fucking wild use chase. Like, it's such a joke. It and I don't know, like when
You can't scene
when I
select
was
either.
really
That's the
into
beauty.
that movie, I was very much of the mindset of like, oh well, I can figure out media. I just gotta look for the clues, you know? Like, I hate
right.
it. I hate it. But that movie is really good, but you'll hate it.
Quick question. Is that a good movie
Maybe
to watch?
maybe start with Blue Velvet or something.
No. Quick question about Mulholland Drive. Is that a good movie to like? This is a hard question to like formulate. Is it a good movie to watch in a small group of friends who have none of which have seen the movie, who know almost nothing about it, but are
Your
also
friends?
kind of yeah. I mean, like friends that we all have, but like I was gonna go over to a friend's house and watch a movie. We haven't figured out what movie we're gonna watch. I wonder if I should be like,
Dude.
what about Mulholland Drive?
We've watched
I'd say
Wes
yes.
Anderson movies at those kind of movie nights, and people were like, meh. Like,
If they can't handle a Wes Anderson movie, they're not
Like-
going to be able to. But like, it's pretty great the way someone could not handle Mulholland Drive. Like, I think Mulholland Drive has elements that are still really appealing, even if you have no idea what's going on.
All right, cool. All right,
Like the cowboy.
all right. Let's move on.
you'll see me
Got-
2 more
got-
times.
Got another game I want to talk about before we finish this segment. I finished Horizon Forbidden West this week. Pretty great game. I love the ending of that.
That's a fucking great ending.
Pretty spectacular finale, if you ask me. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. As soon as I put that down, I started playing Sifu. This has been sitting on my shelf for a while. And I know I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about it because I know Chris Davis talked about it just a couple months ago, closer to release. And he did a pretty good job of kind of like breaking down how everything works, whatever. But like, it's one of those games that, like, one, I knew this game was gonna kick my ass, and two, what? Oh, why is Brad making noise? I knew this game was gonna kick my ass, and two, no matter how much you hear someone talk about the systems in this game, it's still not gonna click until you actually play it.
You
So I
gotta
don't wanna
experience it.
You really got, because it's such a weird thing what this game does, because in a lot of ways it's kind of like a roguelike, but with like really interesting kind of twists on like that formula and like that gameplay loop. Obviously kind of the emphasis here being on like making this like really authentic like kung fu experience, that that doesn't hold your hand in any way, shape, or form. It's very, very, very precision based and like requires you to
Unforgiving.
like unforgiving, requires you to be really on point with your parries and your dodges and your finishers and like filling up their like breaking down their meter, their structure meter until they can be like taken down. But all the while you're like you're unlocking abilities as you're going through the level. But and this is one thing I think Chris Davis explained this, but I was kind of like, huh, when he talked about it, and then playing it, I was like, what? Like each skill in the skill tree, you have to unlock 5 times in a single run in order
Technically
to
6
actually
times.
make technically 6 times in a single run to make it permanently unlocked. Which means if you go through an entire run and you get unlocked it 5 times, and you know I just got to get like 500 experience more so I can unlock it that final time. If you die, game over, start over. That you're starting over from scratch on that ability. But if you manage to unlock it, every subsequent run after that, every level you play after that, you'll have access to that ability, which is just a really unique way, I think, to level up or not level up your character, but like grow as a
A
character over the
strange
course of the
way.
game.
Well,
It's
like,
very
why is it not just like 5 experience points unlocks the move? Why is it the move
because
5 times?
but like because
right.
that is kind of what adds to the difficulty. Like it's like you have this like it's kind of a balancing act because you have all these early on in the game you have access to all this whole skill tree, right? And you may get 1,000 experience and you can unlock 2 or 3 abilities maybe with that 1,000 experience. And as you go through the level, you could like theoretically unlock all of those abilities, and all of a sudden through that run you're fully loaded, you have access to all these moves. But if you die, it's all gone. So like if you want to make sure those things stick, you have to like sacrifice unlocking a bunch of abilities for the sake of like pumping more and more and more experience
Yeah,
into
it's
one
like
until
it's like committing to permanent progression instead of banking
Yes.
on this run being the one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that
Right.
you see that in
I
various
mean, it's
games
not
like these, but
completely unusual. It's not completely unusual, but that in conjunction with all the other things about this game make this thing just like
what is
totally
unusual
different.
is the continue system or the age
Yes.
system and how it ties to how you have to like bank your age
Yeah.
basically
It's weird.
when you
Like
go to the next level. I that's so NES and I can't deal with it. It's one of the biggest barriers for why I can't play this game.
it
Where
is absolutely a
like
barrier.
an old NES game, you might be able to continue from like the second level, but if you got to that second level with 0 lives left or with 1 life left, then every time you play that game you have to try to beat the rest of the game with 1 life left, right? Like, and it's kind of like that with the age system in this game. So if you get to the second stage and you're 70 years old, now you have to try to beat the rest of the game at 70 years old, which is insane, right? So what it leads to is you trying to perfect levels so you can get to the next level with the most amount of continues, right? Or
Right.
aka the lowest age, because your age is basically your continue system. And
Yeah, but like
that is so old school. I can't do it.
it is old school, but there's also this like really neat systems kind of layered on top of that to make it really compelling. Because and this is another thing Chris Davis explained, and I didn't get it until I played it. Is like I thought when I first went into this, I assumed every time I died, my age would go up by 1, but it's not. It's not what it is. Every time you die, that age that counter goes up to like it'll go up to 2. So the next time you die, instead of going up 1, it goes up 2, and then when you die again, it becomes 3 and 4, and suddenly like you die, and like if you're not playing well, you die. Your
It
age goes
just
up by 5 or
snowballs.
6. It snowballs.
Yeah.
But
I
like
think I'm
as
pretty
you
sure easy mode turns off that snowball.
okay, see
It
that
does.
is kind of and that's one of the things I'm really what's kind of stopping me from wanting to knock it down to easy, because I am really enjoying that, because on top of that, the better you play, the more takedowns, like the more structure bars that you break and then do the takedowns, that number goes back 1. So you could like rack up to 4, but if you play well and you take out 4 dudes, it's back down to 1. So like when you die again, you're only going to go up by 1. So it's like this tug of war that's just like really kind of
It's a neat
fascinating.
idea, but
Yeah.
It's a really neat idea. And on top of that, I really wasn't expecting to like just kind of the way this game looks and sounds and feels is just like so unique. awesome. Like this
how it
nightclub
blends
level.
the music into the action and makes everything feel just so much more vibrant.
It's so cinematic, dude. This nightclub level is awesome because like the music is like pulsing, and you go into a room, and all of a sudden like it gets super loud, and then you're in this like kung fu fight that almost feels like the music is like going with like you're almost fighting to the beat, but even you're kind of not. And then I don't know, it just like every level that I've played so far does like really interesting things with the sound design and the music and the visual presentation.
But
And like
also the
it's
branching in the level design, how you'll get unlocks from other levels that you can come back to play this previous level to go through a new door or to meet a new enemy or something like that.
You may find a key in one level that lets you go back to the one before it, and then all of a sudden you can like get to the level faster because now you can go through a side door that skips a bunch of enemies. So like you have a much better chance. Like I cut down. So like the first time I beat the first level, I finished it at age 42, and then I came back later with a key card or a key or whatever that let me kind of bypass one of these, go through a door that took me a different route. That let me go like cut past like 2 or 3 like huge rooms or hallways full of dudes, so I didn't have to fight them at all.
Or not even that necessarily. It's not just bypassing dudes. It may just be a completely different route through the level.
Oh yeah, I mean, in most cases,
is it also shortcuts though? Because that's that's one of the first nice things I've heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the first things I heard about this game that isn't like
you can get a key,
brutally beat you into the dirt, which is
you can find a key later in the game that gets you access and cuts out pretty much a third of the first level.
Which then makes it easier to get to the boss of that level without dying as much. So like all of a sudden you've cut 10 years off of your life in that first level. And what I didn't get was like I was like, so wait, if you finish the first level and make it to the second level, you don't have to start the whole run over. You don't have to start over at the beginning of level 1. You can start at level 2, but you're only going to start at the youngest age that you were when you got to level 2. So like I can go back to level 1 and like whittle it down so that I can start level 2 at age 21 or 22.
That's that NES style continue system. You know, you perfect the earlier levels so you have more continues by the time you get to towards the end of the game. But that's my nightmare scenario, right? Like I start playing Sifu and then I finally work my way to like the final level and I'm like 63 and I'm like, okay, well, I'm here now, and now I just have to do like the hardest level in the game and the final boss at 63.
Well,
and I'm like, fuck.
But here's the kicker, and this is why I don't think it's such a huge problem, and why I'm not bothered by it so far. Because the combat in this game is so fun that it's just to me, it's unforgiving, it's hard, but like nothing has ever, to me, in a game, has ever captured the fast-paced, frenetic, like kung fu. Like, dude, there's parts in this where you feel like fucking like Neo fighting all like the Agent Smiths because there's just dudes coming at you from all sides and you're like blocking and parrying and dodging out of the way.
The most popular mod for this game on PC is you playing as Neo with hundreds of Mr. Smiths attacking you.
It's fucking awesome. This game is also infinitely cooler than that scene actually was in the movie, I think.
Yeah, but the combat. What you're saying, Nick, it is so responsive. It is almost shockingly how responsive your attacks and your parries and your blocks are to what's going on. Like it just makes everything feel so much better.
You also got to remember, and I find myself struggling with this a lot. You got to remember to kind of move around because the environments you're in often are like multi-leveled, and there's things to like jump over countertops and go into different rooms and stuff. And like I oftentimes catch myself just like standing in one place trying to like fight all these dudes when you could actually run to a different part of the level and like lure people away and have a lot fewer dudes to kind of deal with.
It is often to your detriment.
Dude, like if you're watching the footage. If you're watching the footage right now, you're walking down this hallway and you see those like neon lights kind of like pulsing. As it's doing that, like it's making this like the music is kind of pulsing with it. Like, oh my god, it's so.
Yeah, I believe you in terms of like all like the visually appealing game feel and stuff. It's just how it's very Sekiro, right? There's all these parries and stuff, and you really have to be on. Like you can get the shit kicked out of you super quick, right?
Oh yeah.
Like how many times am I going to work my ass off to get to a boss just to have a boss like destroy my run in no time? That's.
But like if you've managed to permanently unlock a new skill in that time, it doesn't feel like much of a waste. And the levels
Yeah.
are
Okay,
short
so
enough.
like that roguelike-y sort of thing.
Yeah, and the levels themselves are short enough that like I've never felt like, oh my god, I just wasted an hour of my life. Like you can blast through one of these levels in like 10, 12 minutes and then get to the boss and be like, oh, he's kicking my ass. But like
There's a
I don't
very
think I've
Sekiro
Go
type
ahead.
meter in this fight.
Yeah.
Is it like
The
a
structure
similar
meter.
thing where like
Yeah, it's your stance meter.
Yeah, you're trying to build up that yellow meter until it maxes out because that'll break their structure, which lets you do a takedown, and they can do the same thing to you. So yes, it's very Sekiro in that way.
I can't. I never finished Sekiro. I can't, and it's why I was like so at peace when I decided not to play this earlier in the year. It's like, dude, I know what I don't like, and I don't like this combat
That's
system.
totally
I don't
fair.
like this continuous system. And you know what? I think I'm just gonna be at peace with not playing this game, unless that easy mode really is like makes
Maybe
this
give it a
much
try.
breezier, because the style and stuff does seem good. But
I started playing on normal just like Nick, and I dropped it down to easy after playing through the first or second level. And I made that decision because I researched easy mode. And the easy mode, like you were saying, instead of it being additive increments
snowball.
of death and snowballing, it's only one year per fall. And I think it just a tad addresses the enemy aggression to where they don't necessarily attack you like multiple times from multiple angles at the same time. But other than that, I think it's pretty much the exact same experience.
Yeah, I mean it's not going to be like it's not going to like drain all the difficulty out of the game, but it is there are going to be certain things that it's going to make it a little less overwhelming. I suppose.
if you never lose, you're always gonna die and get your age is gonna go up or whatever, right? But if you never actually lose, and you just go through the game on easy mode, how long do you think that would take? If you just like
I
It-
mean,
it
beat the
took
boss every time
me-
you fall.
So for my first complete run to get the original ending, it must have been 18, 20 hours of work.
That wasn't my question though.
no, he
Chris
said,
Davis.
he said
I'm saying how long if you never died, if you never lost, if you never had to restart a run or a level, how long do you think it would take to get through this game? Because that's the thing also about NES games. People would play them for months before they actually beat them, but if once you perfected it, you could get through them in an afternoon.
If you're
I mean,
a perfectionist in your gameplay and you choose not to use any of the shortcuts available to you that you unlock, probably about 2-ish hours.
I feel like you could cut that in half though if you spend the time to get to find the items that let you take the shortcuts and you kind of learn the layout of like once you know the layouts of the levels and you have access to the shortcuts, I bet you could probably finish this whole all 5 level. Is it 5 levels? 5, 6? I don't know.
Yeah, it's 5. So
you probably
absolutely, Nick. The third level is kind of like the make or break level of the game. If you beat the third level, you're going to beat the rest of the game. But that's also an
good to
example
know.
of where the mechanics start to open up, because that level is a large multi-tiered thing where you're going through multiple floors and fighting a ton of enemies. It's really hard to get to the boss in that. But if you're diligent, you can find a key card that will basically skip the entire level and let you go straight to the boss.
That's rad. See, that shit's cool.
Well, that's the shit I needed to hear. Fuck.
And it is also, and all the boss fights in this game are awesome, but that one is probably my favorite in the game visually.
I got to the second boss tonight while I was recording this footage, and he wiped the floor with me. So.
Mechanically
There's
speaking,
like-
I like the second level boss the best because I really got into a rhythm of using the staff and blocking and parrying.
Yeah.
There's like
What's it?
directional blocking and parrying in this.
Yes.
Yes.
Ugh, I can't.
It's
He's
it's
out
not
again.
that bad.
He's out again.
It's fairly telegraphed.
again.
You'll be
I'm
able
out
to
again.
figure it out.
It's pretty demanding. Sorry.
It's not about figuring it out. It's about me not dealing with it mentally.
And also, I'm not very good at that either.
It's abuse, Chris Davis.
Okay.
But man,
Well-
there's something really cool. There's
Directional
something
blocking.
there is something undeniably cool about this fucking game,
Yeah.
and I'm really enjoying it. So
And Nick, I
Anyways.
really look forward to you actually beating the game, and then I want you to go for the real beating of the game. Because
don't
you
tempt
figure
me,
out
Chris.
something later on that completely transforms your perspective of the game.
You're a time
All right.
traveler.
Get the real ending.
Well-
What are you, not even a man?
You thought it was The Matrix, but it's Romeo Must Die.
All right.
Wait,
Are there any other quick mentions that we want to squeeze into this segment, or should we cut to break?
I've got a few quick mentions I can bring up.
Do it.
Especially since one of them ended up on the GIF, even though I really didn't want to actually show off footage of it.
Oh, I know.
Okay. What?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yep, I've been playing the Cowabunga collection.
I'm surprised nobody's talked about that game so far on this show.
It's
Well, I mean,
really, really nice quality they put into this. I am.
Does nobody want to do
genuinely impressed.
a multiplayer night of that? Because that seems like perfect for.
The Cowabunga collection is not maybe the game you're thinking of.
Oh, what am I thinking of?
Shredder's
You're
Revenge?
thinking of Shredder's Revenge, the
Cowabunga
Turtles game that
collection.
came out a couple of months ago.
Yeah,
That game's mid as fuck. Dude, just get this and play Turtles in Time.
hell yeah.
Or whatever.
Bury
All right,
my
so-
shell at Wounded Knee.
So you're playing this is a collection.
The Cowabunga collection. It has 13 different titles with regional variations and arcade variations thereof. I
directional
spent a
dodging.
couple hours just going through all the bonuses and extras in that collection that are really fucking cool. They include like entire like wiring maps and graphics of how you would set up the fucking arcade cabinets and the conversion kits. There are the original manuals, the original box art, high-res magazine advertisement scans. Like they put a lot of effort into this.
High res magazine scans, man. That
Yeah,
seems
like
so
like early 90s,
school.
like that old bullshit kind of advertisement. Yeah, it's really impressive the work they've put into
something
researching
very
this.
nostalgic about that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I was always a big Turtles fan with the games, and this provided me an opportunity to actually go back and finally finish a game I never had the ability to do, which was the original TMNT game on NES, which was the only platformer game they developed that really is hard and really is not a good video game. But I mean, I've had my cartridge for over 30 years at this point. I finally wanted to see what was past like area 2 of the game.
Chris Davis,
I've been doing that. What?
who's your favorite turtle?
Don?
Donatello?
Donnie, yeah.
Chris Davis, how old are you? Can I ask?
I'm 36.
Donatello does
Brad,
machine.
how old are you? Can I ask?
What's the age cutoff for being a Turtles fan? I mean, I was super into Turtles.
There is no
age
it was
cutoff.
There
a
is
big
no
thing
age.
when I was a kid.
It was still popular
No.
when I was young.
Oh, it's like still going right now.
Yeah.
They just put
It's
out
evergreen, no
like a
pun
movie
intended.
or two out on Netflix.
There's
It's
another
That
movie
one-
coming in, another new TV
that
show.
one that they were doing on Nickelodeon for a minute not that long ago, like the rise of the TMNT. I gotta say, it's really weird and it's really different from anything else TMNT that's ever existed, but it's really good.
No, I believe y'all, but the Cowabunga collection Turtles games were of a certain era, and I feel like that's a little bit older, maybe.
But
But
like
mean,
Turtles
yeah.
in Time's on that collection, right?
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
a Super
that's
Nintendo
fair.
game.
The
Yeah,
home version and the arcade version.
That's worth the price of admission right
fuck the
there.
arcade version.
90s kids know.
Guys, we should do a TMNT night. Like play some Shredder's Revenge, play some Turtles in Time. That'd be
I mean,
cool.
I haven't talked about it on the podcast, but after playing about 5 levels of that, I'm really disappointed with that game. The Shredder's Revenge one that came out a couple months ago. So
No. Well,
Well, it's coming out on disc this month, so I'm going to play it then. But
it's okay.
I guess the one thing I really want to point out, I think is really fucking cool about this collection. Every single one of the games has a built-in, not necessarily taskbot, but like a pre-programmed playthrough of the game. That is a 100% perfect run, no damage, perfect time experience.
so you can just watch somebody play it.
Here's the thing: you can watch it, but then at any moment you can press a button in your controller and you're playing that moment from right there on.
Oh shit!
That is
pretty
fucking
cool.
awesome. So
I feel like I've never seen that before. That's kinda
I
neat.
don't think I've ever seen that before myself, but I started watching like 15, nearly 20 minutes of the NES TMNT platformer, And I was learning so much about what I was watching. I'd never seen any of this shit before. And then I accidentally pressed a button. I was suddenly playing the fucking game. I was like, oh my God. I could abuse the shit out of this, but no.
That's cool.
It's fucking cool.
right.
This was Digital Eclipse. I don't recall knowing about this developer before, but if this is like the standard of the games they develop, holy shit, I am
Digital
going to just sign up
Eclipse,
for
I mean,
anything
they've
they
done a lot.
work on.
Have they done a lot?
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else? Last call before we cut to break.
I also wanted to mention that I had a very fun community night on Sunday playing Splinter Cell Blacklist with Green Toes, Tack, David, and a few others.
Nice.
That was actually quite fun.
I was actually contemplating.
David was
joining you
texting
guys.
me about Blacklist. He says it sucks.
What?
Like what?
Dude,
A day?
I didn't know
This
he was
week?
playing with you.
Yeah, we were having a fun time. We were having a lot of fun.
Y'all were playing the multiplayer though.
Yeah,
That
it was
sounds like maybe-
really cool. The final match of the night was such a nail biter. It ended up in a tie that no one could have predicted would happen. It was kind of amazing. I had a lot of fun with that. Good news on that front, by the way. Ubisoft has announced, and thanks, Mr. Greentoes, for pointing this out, that Ubisoft is delaying the shutdown of the servers for that game, as well as all the ones that were supposed to shut down in September by another month. So, Nolan, if you wanted to do a Brotherhood of Revelations community night, I think that'd be pretty fun.
Well, what is the state of that game these days, though? It can't be good, right? Right?
Probably not.
Chris Davis, can I read you his brief impressions that he sent me in a text?
Sure.
He says, I remember playing Blacklist when it first came out. I was kind of on a conviction high. I started up a single player expecting there to be some co-op campaign, but it was only like 4 levels. Oh, wait. Okay, he's talking about the single player. He said, I'm playing it now. It's terrible. It's trying so hard to be Uncharted and New Age Tomb Raider. It's bad. It's all action BS. All the missions have been midday outdoors. Completely cuts out the shadow aspects of this game. That's what is that true? Is that true?
That's not
I
true.
Call bullshit.
That's
call
just
bullshit.
David being
First of all,
David.
That is you got to take that with the biggest David grain of salt. Blacklist was fantastic. Blacklist was like, I like Conviction, but like Blacklist was way better.
Oh, and
Anyways,
we had so much fun. Oh,
did you know he once gave the Bionic Commando reboot his game of the year?
He did.
I mean,
yes.
he's weird.
That game was okay.
I also want to
Hey,
mention real quick that Saturday night I was house sitting, and I was desperate to find something to play, so I finally started up Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Oh.
And it's okay.
How much have you played?
I've played through the entire first world. It's all
Chris
right.
Davis.
It's baby's first XCOM, but it's okay.
We prepared you
you
for
know
that.
what? That's not true. You're making it sound like it's some like kid-friendly game, but that game can be quite challenging in like pretty rewarding ways.
That game does get surprisingly difficult. Like I didn't expect it to be challenging.
It's very tactically sound.
Keep going. The first level is pretty easy, but it gradually ramps up over time for sure.
I'm sure it does, but it feels like it introduces the mechanics at just a solid pace, enough pace that you even a kid would be able to figure out what everything does. So
that's probably true, and also not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, like I think it's a good game. I'm not compelled to finish it, but if I ever find myself in a position where I have to play something and I'm don't have anything else to do, sure, I'll play it again.
That God damn it, Chris Davis. That game is a joy. That game's a joy. All right. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we answer some questions. We'll talk a little bit of news I want to talk about, and we'll wrap up with the 4-player minute. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I put this in the doc. I don't know how much anyone else here wants to talk about it, but I figured I would bring it up because I feel like it's been a very long time since we've had any Assassin's Creed news to talk about on this show.
Or at least
Hasn't it
good
been
stuff.
Hasn't it been fun?
I mean, it's been kind of nice. I mean, we all agree the series needed, some time,
Yep.
some time in the oven. But it looks like Ubisoft is gearing up, and they're gearing up to announce kind of the future plans of this franchise, whatever that shape that may take. I think a lot of people have expectations or getting ready. Brad, what was that look for?
Nothing.
I mean, I think
just
we know
that-
it did.
No
What?
shame in bringing up Assassin's Creed in the news, but is that what the overlay is?
Yes.
No.
I mean,
yeah, you're a nerd.
yeah.
No, continue.
So, well, it leaked earlier this week because they're gearing up to announce what it was rumored to be called Assassin's Creed Mirage, but it has now been confirmed by Ubisoft. They're going to announce it at they're doing an event on September 10th. And there's been a lot of mixed signals going around. There's been a lot of rumors, a lot of leaks out there about this game or about what's coming. They're talking about turning Assassin's Creed into kind of like a platform in which like all the new games in the future are going to be part of this platform. So whatever that means exactly, we don't know.
Assassin's Creed Infinite, right?
Yeah,
Infinity, I think,
Assassin's
is what it's
Creed
called.
Infinity is what it's supposed to be called, which we don't really know. I'm assuming we're going to get a pretty clear picture of what that means on September 10th. But this game, I've seen some rumors where people were talking about Assassin's Creed Mirage being this like very, very large scale Assassin's Creed game that takes place in Baghdad. But it's looking like it's kind of the opposite. It's more of a smaller scale project that is more that takes place in the confines of one city, that is more focused on like classic Assassin's Creed gameplay, or more like Hitman in terms of like it's stealth oriented and you are trying to assassinate targets, which as a fan of Assassin's Creed, I'm going to be honest, where has that been in this series? It hasn't really been a major component of the series, or it hasn't felt like it's been a major component of the series for quite some time. At least in the traditional sense, I think all of the games have kind of had an element of that.
Yeah,
Well,
but they can't
especially went
monetize the
away
shit
when
out of it.
it especially went away when the series kind of became like
An
an
RPG.
RPG, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of talk, and actually, I want to use this opportunity to bring up a question that we got this week, because it's sounding like, and so this game is actually the main character of this game is a character that was introduced in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Takes place in Baghdad. It's a smaller scale, more stealth-oriented game. But obviously, the last 3 Assassin's Creed games have been RPGs in terms of like you're leveling up a character. There's damage numbers. Like it's not just like a 1-to-1 like tangle with enemies and then you assassinate them. It's like everything is level based, which has had ups and downs. I think Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I think, were very well received, but the series has gotten farther and farther away from kind of like what it was before. So it sounds like they're starting to kind of like pivot back towards that, which is nice. It also sounds like maybe they're gearing up to do a soft reboot of the whole franchise, which maybe is necessary. I'm hoping that's what this is, honestly, because the lore, especially, and they've made some missteps with Desmond's character. Yeah, I mean, like you know what I mean. Like the whole series for like the longest time has kind of felt like it's being designed by committee in terms of just like reacting to.
I mean, not. I would say that probably started maybe with Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Before that, actually, because I would. The reason I fell out of love with Assassin's Creed is when it kind of became an RPG. When it turned into, hey, there's not 1,000 collectibles. There's 500,000 collectibles. There are billions. It's like that's not what I like about these games. And everyone loved the sailing and Assassin's Creed 3. So now every game's got to have a boat, and we got to have all this stuff. And now they literally can't let go of anything. Any baggage they've had in a previous game, they bring it on. They add more. They don't necessarily fix issues. It just they just keep adding more. Yeah, exactly. They never.
It's bloat.
It's for sure, and that's why I don't play them anymore. Just because like I don't have the time. When you look back at like Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, there was like 100 things to collect in the entire game. Like you don't have to like. It's more focused on exploring the world while you're just kind of doing the story.
Yeah, and I'm hoping they're going to get back to that. And honestly, I think there's a lot of really cool things that were introduced, especially in Odyssey. I thought had some really cool stuff, especially the stuff that was kind of like related to assassinations, like the idea of like tracking down and assassinating the members of this cult, and that wasn't even like the main part of the game. That was just a elaborate side quest. You were scouring this world, finding members of this cult who were like undercover, who were just like infiltrating society. Like that was so cool. But like around that, it was just kind of like being piled on with like all these things from carried over from game to game. Like Black Flag became less and less special over time, like you said, because every game after that had to have the sailing aspect. Instead of letting Black Flag kind of be this really special thing, they just kind of like blend it all together. But it sounds like they've been like they've taken a couple of years off of the series. We haven't seen a major release, I think, in like 3 years for Assassin's Creed. Sounds like they recognize some of these things. I hope. I'm very, very interested to see what they're going to do here, because this is going to be their moment to either bring people back on board and kind of like right the ship, or at least steer in a different direction that people can get back on board with again, or if it's going to be another chance for them to double down on some of the shit and kind of just push people farther and farther away.
Assassin's Creed is like Ubisoft's Sonic cycle. That's
Maybe,
what the Assassin's Creed fans are in, you know.
But here's the thing: those last 3 games, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, I think are really strong games. In fact, maybe some of the stronger ones they've seen.
Say.
But they're different things. They're not they're not like the original Assassin's Creed. The first like trilogy of Assassin's Creed was kind of like almost not like, I don't want to say like Hitman, but it's very like grounded. You're trying to assassinate people, and that was its loop, and it got farther and farther away from that over time, which is annoying, in my opinion anyways.
So 2 things I want to say. First, you're not mentioning the other half of this story. So shut up, phone. So as part of this leak, it has been basically confirmed that as part of this game's season pass content, which it's going to get, it's going to include a soft remake of the original Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be using this game takes place in Baghdad, and they're going to be using a lot of the assets from this game to kind of remake the original, which is kind of why I pulled in the idea of like, it sounds like maybe they're trying to do a soft reboot of the franchise and get back to kind of like circle back around. And that's kind of just theorizing.
Or maybe this is just like a one-off experiment before they go into like Infinity, where it's like even bigger and more bloated than it's ever been. Because I got to be honest with you, like I don't see Ubisoft setting like, breaking financial records by selling a very old feeling Assassin's Creed game. Like how do they make money off of that?
Okay. So let me get to this question from our community member, from Tack, this week. He said, "The rumors surrounding the new Assassin's Creed sound to me as though the team is kind of backtracking on the RPG-centric gameplay of the recent entries and steering the franchise back towards its original direction. However, it seems like Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla were relatively well received. So I question why Ubisoft hasn't pulled an Shin Megami Tensei / Persona or Yakuza / Judgment yet, and simply made spin-offs focusing on one or the other styles of play. It's not like they're unaware of the concept, given that Skull and Bones was originally a game based around Black Flag's naval combat.
They have, though.
Do you think it would behoove Ubisoft to split the franchise into separate entries in this way, or would it ultimately be a detriment?"
They've done this a bunch of times. I feel like they've done all kinds of weird little spin-offs and
Chronicles
expansions and
games.
DLCs and
Right.
and
But those were not core entries, and I think a lot of the people who are consider themselves fans of Assassin's Creed don't even really pay attention to those games. Even when I was like super big into Assassin's Creed, I paid almost no attention to it unless it was part of the core chronological. I didn't even play Rogue, and I heard good things about Rogue.
I mean, I think
But
the thing
that's
here
an
is
example of them doing this stuff before. I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah,
like.
I think
but
the
what he's saying, and I think there's truth to this, is that so like it was either kind of an assassination game or it was an RPG, and when they shifted to RPG, that was just the new identity of the series. Like we haven't seen a more traditional Assassin's Creed game since pre-Origins. And now he's wondering if, especially now that they're doing this like Infinity thing, if the idea going forward is to make games in both categories. Like there's going to be an RPG type game for people who like that style of play, and there's going to be games more like Mirage, where it's more like the original Assassin's Creed, or even like Unity. I think even though Unity is a game I didn't finish because it was broken as fuck when it came out, that was very assassination focused.
So
Um,
let me say that I agree with kind of what you're saying, Nick. Everything since Origins has been too RPG, too bloated, too whatever. I would not mind them going that route, splitting the focus, because then it might actually attract me back to the series.
mhm.
It's one of those things that the original thing that, in my opinion at least, that at least drew me, and I think other people shared that idea, was a game that let you explore some of these places that you can't explore now. As someone who I used to, not really as much anymore, used to be really into like Roman culture, it was nice to be able to run around those old cities as if they were still there, and
Yeah.
kind of explore the areas. And it was interesting when we modeled this thing after whatever. I understand that the new game, Origins and what they have, some of that is in those as well, but I don't feel like playing those games like for 300 hours. The nice thing about
Right.
the older Assassin's Creed games are they were like 10
Cool.
hours, maybe 20 tops. It was in, story, out. Like it was just like you just kind of got to enjoy it. And I
While
don't,
still being open and
yeah.
for sure.
you know.
But like the bonus content that you went for in the original trilogy eventually became very narrative focused and very interesting to do.
I think there are some I think there are choices to be made that would be smart to
Yeah.
rein this series in and give people more choices about what kinds of games they play in this franchise. The question is, are Ubisoft going to make those choices, or are they going to kind of make the same mistakes over and over again, which
I mean,
we've obviously seen them do time and time again.
I think
I
at this
feel like they're
point-
focusing on the wrong thing.
Wait,
Like
who's focusing on the
a
wrong
lot,
thing?
a
Ubisoft?
lot of people don't even. I mean, like the most Assassin's Creed, old school Assassin's Creed game was the first one. A lot of people don't even like that fucking game. I
Well,
don't think people
that
really
game-
want to go back to like telling people. They just don't want a 100-hour game. People, these games are well received, but everyone agrees they should stop being so fucking bloated.
Yeah,
Just
well,
make
they are.
a new style game way smaller.
I mean, at this point, Ubisoft has to be conscious of just how fatigued people are with their core franchise at this point. And that's why we're seeing complete reworks of Far Cry coming. We're seeing reworks of the Clancy games coming. We're seeing now Assassin's Creed getting that same treatment. Like,
But like
they
again, I
have to
wanna
realize
emphasize-
that people don't want these triple digit hour experiences when they're not going to experience. They're not going to pay
Well,
for it. It's not worth it.
To be fair, some people do. Some people don't.
Some
A
people
lot of
do,
people
but that's
don't.
that's the
Right.
single digit percentage minority.
I don't know if single digit, but not everybody is like us where they play a lot of games in a single year. Some people only get 1-2 games a year, and they like the idea of getting that kind of value. But whatever, that's a whole different
Their fan
argument.
base is big enough that they could keep making these big bloated games, and they would make plenty of money and not
Yeah.
look back. There's nothing that is going to make them design a smaller scale Assassin's Creed game.
Well, here's
They
the
don't
thing, and
have to.
they don't have to, but I want to emphasize this, and this is these rumors are very strong, and even Jason Schreier is claiming to be able to confirm a lot of these facts. Is that this Assassin's Creed Mirage game that they're going to officially unveil on September 10th is supposedly a much smaller scale or much smaller in scope than what they've done. I don't know if that's going to be indicative of what comes after, but I'm hoping that it's going to be like a sweet spot because they need to find that sweet spot.
Supposedly, it's
Cynical
of the
me-
scale of Brotherhood.
Cynical me makes it interpreting much smaller, as in this was just like DLC that got too big, and how it feels like a short Assassin's Creed game.
I mean, I will say this: it's like I said, it's been like 3 years since we got Valhalla. They've obviously been, kind of gathering their ducks, putting their ducks in a row, and trying to figure out what this, because they're talking about this event to as they're going to announce the future direction of the franchise, which makes it sound like there's going to be some major changes to the series going forward. We just don't know what shape they're going to take.
Well, I think we already know. We're going to get these single player, much smaller, tighter controlled experiences every now and then, but the main focus is now going to be Infinity, which is going to be a live service game.
Well, but the way it's been described, at least as that I've read, is that Infinity is not necessarily a game. Infinity is like it's like BattleNet or something. I mean, it's like I don't even know how to.
It's a marketing strategy.
Sure, but Infinity, like the games are a part of Infinity. Like Infinity is not I'm not going to take a disc for Assassin's Creed Infinity and pop it in and play Assassin's Creed Infinity. It's who the fuck this is probably going to,
because we're about to find out.
Yeah, we're going to find out on September 10th, so we'll talk about it on a future show.
Yeah, I used to be a gigantic Assassin's Creed fan, but I bounced off it so hard when the narrative no longer, when what you did in a game did not matter for the overall story, and the game kind of did things to actively insult your playing it, like that's when I stopped playing. Like we
moved on. We're now venting about this series. Let's.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying that this new Mirage project is something that may get me back into the series. So
sure, but don't.
On that, so
again, cynical me makes them. Well, let's all just wait and find out because it's soon.
We'll talk about it soon. All right, and the other thing in the news, and I've been seeing a lot of talk about this, and it's not something. Admittedly, as someone who has a PS5 in my possession, I haven't been paying super close attention to it.
Okay, you should care.
This all started
when
I
Apple.
Do care, but I don't know the facts, is what I'm saying, because I saw there's a PS5 price increase, but I didn't.
Yeah, and almost every region but the US, there was about a $50 or more price increase depending on the region. 10%. And that's insane.
Glad I got
it's
mine.
Unheard of, right? Because like tech, the history of tech, you just wait until. No, you don't go down necessarily. At least not recently. You just find you make a new revision of it, and maybe the components cost you cheaper, but they don't know it, right? Or maybe you add like a feature, right, that gives you an excuse to raise the price of something, like the Switch OLED, for example, right? Which is. A new version of the Switch that costs $50 more than the last Switch, and it probably costs them about the same to make, maybe even less, right? Because technology on their end is usually getting cheaper, even if maybe the screen costs them a little bit more. They're probably coming out more of a head, but they got people to spend more money. Same with like bigger versions, whatever, right? The thing is, months ago, or I don't know how long ago it was at this time. What is time? Apple just raised the price, or not Apple, Facebook raised the. I said Apple raised the price of the Quest to $100 for no reason, no revision. It's just this is existing hardware that you can buy for $300. Now it costs you $400, which is insane because again that doesn't happen. You just wait till you put out a new version of it if you're going to jack up the price. But they just inflation, everything costs more. I guess houses cost more, cars cost more. Maybe our VR headset should just cost more for no fucking reason. And they set a precedent. And Sony and probably a lot of tech companies saw that and goes, wait, you can't do that. Can you do that? You can just do that? And sure enough, PlayStation or Sony's like, hey, let's just raise the price of this thing. And it sucks. And fuck Sony and fuck and this is not going to be the last time we see that. It's horrifying. But
so was I seeing this correctly? Were Nintendo and Microsoft memeing earlier by like making an official announcements that they were not raising their price?
that's not a meme. That's like people are afraid. They're trying to like assure their fans that they don't have to worry about this yet.
Yeah, those were official comments by Nintendo and Microsoft confirming that they're not going to raise the price.
I know. It just seemed like kind of like one of those like opportunities to like poke fun at the competition, be like, "Hey,
no, it's the kind of thing like NFTs. They see the reception is like so negative that they're like, "Oh, we're not going to do that. Don't hate us," you know. Yeah. But you know, they're only don't trust these people as far as you can throw them. I mean, again, it could become a situation where this becomes so commonplace that everyone starts doing it and we just it becomes the new norm. It's just, God, remember when like the PS2 was like eventually down to like $100? Consoles used to get really, really cheap and now they're just going in the wrong direction. That's horrifying.
Yep, it is.
I'm not even sure. I'm not even confident that it's not also going to happen in the U.S. Like, I think we're like the only region where that didn't happen of the, you know.
So the price in the U.S. has not officially gone up. It's everywhere else.
No. They said the U.S. one is not going up for now, I guess.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's horrifying.
Which makes it just even shittier. The fact that they're doing that to everyone but their most profitable region. Because they know that they would get more backlash if they chose to do it here.
Maybe.
So that's fucked up. So
they definitely weighed the consequences and did the math, and they were probably planning on doing it here too. But then they said, maybe not.
So real quick, we don't have a ton of questions tonight. Although I do want to say this before we get to that segment. Brucey, you had a question in there that was pretty good, and then you deleted it. So I don't know what's going on there. But if you're listening, you should put that back in there. Before we get to that, I didn't put this on the docket, but I wanted to just bring this up because there was some Konami news. They're getting ready. We're saying Konami saying we should expect an announcement of a beloved.
Stop it. That is not Konami news. Let's wait till they say what they're going to say, and then that can become Konami news.
I know, but I thought it was so fucking awful. Like Konami said something about like they're going to announce a game in September that's part of a beloved franchise, but then they followed it up with, but it's not Castlevania, Metal Gear Solid, or Silent Hill. Like, then what are you fucking talking about?
Because they've got
they have other classic franchises.
Yeah, they got
I know they have a shit ton.
A lot of great IP that they have.
You don't say shit like that because those are the only three things people like are gonna jump to when they say they're announcing a new game. That's where people's fucking head is going.
There's a franchise I care about just as much as those. What if it's a new Suikoden game?
I don't care.
I mean hey,
you don't care, and I don't care about Silent Hill.
Okay, Brad, let me just say this. When Konami says they're announcing a new game in a beloved franchise after not announcing or making a game for like 10 years, and even saying for a time that they were getting out of the video game business to focus on pachinko machines, when you come back and say, "Hey, we're getting back in, we're getting back on the horse, and we're going to announce a game in a beloved franchise," people's minds are not jumping to Suikoden.
Okay, but you're wrong because that is a beloved franchise, as is Contra, as is.
It is not the same. It is not the same thing as Metal Gear Solid. It is not the same thing as Castlevania, and it is not the same thing as Silent Hill.
Man, fuck Silent Hill, dude. Most of those games suck. Fuck you.
Fuck Suikoden.
I want you to find me a RP a top RPG list that doesn't have like Suikoden 2 on it. It's beloved. It's a beloved.
It's franchise. A beloved franchise, but it is not the thing.
But it qualifies as that term. It qualifies as a term, as does Contra, as does other stuff.
But if Konami was regularly developing and releasing games in their many beloved franchises, of course people would be excited if they announced Suikoden. But when they come back and it's like, we're gonna make a beloved game again, people's mind is not jumping to Suikoden.
So here's my thinking is that
basic bitches like you.
Over the past couple years, they've become pretty prolific in releasing collections of their games. We have several Castlevania collections. We just got the TMNT collection.
There's a Metal Gear Solid collection rumored.
Yeah, there's a rumored a remaster collection of 1 through 3 Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah,
4 though.
I just want the one. I just want them to make one good again. The other two got good remasters.
I just want 4 to exist on another platform other than the PS3. For the love of God.
Sure. But you know what I think Konami's thinking? And Kojima's thinking? And everyone's thinking? Everyone has all these fond memories of 4, but I feel like that one's going to hold up the least, maybe, going back. I mean, it's cool, but a lot of people...
It's the principle of the matter. We've had, like, 2 Metal Gear Solid collections before... And like they're gonna do it again, and they're just gonna.
It's the cell processor, man. No one can fuck with that weird ass PS3 shit. You had to install that game multiple times as you played it.
Yeah. Also,
you know what they should do then? You know what they should do? They should remake it
again.
Like, remake Metal Gear Solid 4.
And that being said, as someone who's actually recently played through literally all 5 Metal Gear Solid games within the last 6 months. 4 is still pretty good. I understand that.
Yeah.
What did you say, Brad?
You played through 5 again? No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No. 4. Look, 4 has its moments, but it is maybe the most awkward game in that series. Like in terms of
they tried to do a lot with it. You know, being on the PS3. You know, it was one of the and not first PS3 titles, but it was pretty early PS3. And so they tried to do a lot of the look at this cool stuff. And so while not every single aspect of it is top tier prime gaming, I enjoyed my time with 4 more than I do with 2.
Really?
Damn.
I mean, 4 has a lot more interesting mechanics.
Everyone makes fun of long cutscenes in Metal Gear games. I feel like 4 is the only game where I really feel that.
No, for sure. In 4, they are very long cutscenes. You're not wrong.
The ending for 4 is an hour and a half long cinematic. So,
is that really an hour and a half?
Yes, it is.
Insane. Yeah.
And that's before the credits roll.
But it was cool.
It was cool.
It's cool. I'm not discounting it, but
dude, I used to look forward to
Metal Gear Solid
games because of the movies, so I could just watch.
Shut up! It was cool.
All right, let's move on. We have one more question from a listener today from Frayhim. Frayhim wants to know, so when it comes to old games not having a PC port at the moment, would you prefer to play games on an emulator, or would you take the time to get out your old consoles and stream old games through a capture device? My opinion leans more toward the second option.
Depends on the generation, depends on the kind of game. I mean, there's a lot of factors here. Some things are a lot easier to emulate than others, and some emulators are just better than others.
Yeah. I mean, and there's that tinkering factor that comes into play with getting emulators working. That in and of itself is an interesting and for some people fun part of the experience. And personally, as someone who doesn't have my PS3 and my Xbox 360 hooked up, I'm not particularly thrilled about the idea of taking them out and plugging them back in and trying to make room on because I don't have a ton of remaining space on my shelf, so I'd have to make the space. But I also don't. Some emulators are harder to work with than others.
Some games and genres are better with an emulator, right?
Yeah.
So some games Beautiful Joe, I guess, did pretty well in the
poll
rankings, I guess, up to a point, and made
it to the semifinals.
Those are really tough games, especially the first one. But everyone would probably had to have been emulating that game to actually play it, and Honestly,
is a
that probably
GameCube.
would have been a much nicer experience with like save states or something, because a lot of people couldn't get through that first game, right? Or like or think of an RPG where you can kind of like speed up some of the more tedious moments. Or we recently played Vagrant Story. Vagrant Story is a tough game, as a lot of people would attest, because only I finished it apparently. But like I did that with
Damn.
save states. I did that with speeding up long animations and stuff. Like if I just played the raw version on PS3, I would have never gone through that game. So yeah, I mean, again, sometimes emulators definitely the way to go.
Yeah,
Right.
it really, like Brad was saying, it really depends on the game and the generation, and also just what kind of hardware you have lying around. If you have a CRT in those classic systems and you like that old school experience, sure, that's probably the way you should go for it.
Why
for
the
Super
CRT?
Metroid.
What?
Don't play Super
These are
Metroid.
very important for
Way.
older games, Nick.
Is it though? Is it that
Yes,
important?
for sure.
It
The way the
has
game is
truer. It has truer blacks, Nick.
It's not about necessarily even the blacks. It's just about the fact that the way the CRT shows the pixels, when you can see every individual pixel, that can actually be a problem, and things look jagged and not as good. Versus when it's on a CRT, everything is smoothed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I promise
That's
you,
fair.
a lot of older games look way better on CRT.
I mean, part of me already know. I know there's some people who are really into the whole CRT experience. I totally get it. But the thought of getting just the thought of having a CRT and like moving it around, and I don't know.
Well, you
just
don't move it
sounds-
around.
You don't get a giant one. You don't have to get a giant one. Old games like that didn't need giant televisions, and a lot of people who are like really into the boutique CRT scene are getting these like old like 20-inch like studio monitors, like the Sony, like that were
Panasonic
from
with
like
Sony monitors.
television studios and stuff.
Yeah.
God, do y'all remember that like really awkward stage we were still gradually moving from CRT to like flat screen HD TVs,
Oh,
where suddenly
God,
we
yeah.
had flat screen HD TVs that were also massive and heavy and just thick.
I had
like
one.
CRTs.
You don't get. That's not the way to get back into CRTs. First of all, these things don't really exist anymore. But yeah, you don't need anything over 20 inches, right?
No, I was just reminiscing about, because I remember specifically a TV I had. I remember at the time thinking, "Oh my god, I've got a flat screen TV. This is amazing." But I'm thinking back at it, it was like 800 pounds and just like a completely immovable object. It was just fucking awful. Man, I'm glad those times are over. Let me see if Brucey put his question back in. I'm gonna guess he didn't. He had a question for Crispy, but he took it out. Should
Why-
I
Why are
remember
you
what the
like
question
this?
is.
What was
I
it?
remember what the
Well,
question
no,
was.
You can't
Well,
you can't say it now because he deleted it, and now
Maybe you
and you said the name of the person, so that's
It was
not cool.
D&D
you
related.
Said me. You said my
Stop
name.
it. Maybe he didn't want his
I've had nothing to talk about this whole
maybe
show.
he didn't want his super, evangelical mother to know that he was into D&D, and you just outed him as a D&D fan,
Damn.
He deleted
His
that question.
mother-
Let it go, Nick.
His mother doesn't listen to the show. Nobody
Maybe she
listens
does.
to the show.
Maybe
That
she
is
does.
true, Crispy.
Ha! Got him.
Brucey loves D&D.
All right,
I just-
Brucey. Well, I'm not
Ask
going to
me
guilt you
after
into
the
it.
recording because I want to know what the question was.
If Brucey hears this and wants to put it back in there, I'll read it before the end of the show. Or if he wants to ask him after, go for
Come
it.
on,
But anyways,
Brucey. Do the right thing. Don't be a coward.
Oh, man. David just sent me another text about Splinter Cell Blacklist, Chris Davis. This is just a question that he asked.
Living rent free.
You can definitely answer this, Chris Davis. He says,
Okay.
did any of the original Splinter Cells have sequences where you where the building is getting bombed and you're running through and it's falling apart and blowing up? Did they? Chris Davis,
The
'cause this
original
sequence
game
sounds
on
awful.
the oil rig level actually kind of had that.
No, it did not.
Yeah, it did.
This is some cinematic Hitman Absolution bullshit, okay?
okay,
There's
don't
no business.
evoke Hitman Absolution to
This
talk
is
about Splinter
this
Cell
is
Blacklist.
run from the helicopter, Chris Davis. Run
Oh,
from the
that kind of
helicopter.
question?
That was the Hitman. That was
No,
Agent
no.
47's mission.
You know what the Splinter Cell versus Splinter Cell Blacklist comparison we're making here is? It's like Mission Impossible 1 versus Mission Impossible Fallout. It's just like one is
A
a
good
different
movie
kind of
versus a bad movie.
I know Fallout's a good movie. The original Mission Impossible is a terrible movie, right?
Boo! Kill
Whoa.
this man!
Fine.
He's so stupid. He
What?
doesn't deserve to live.
Chris Davis, before you freak out, I was clearly jesting.
He's
Okay.
joking.
It was a
Okay.
lark, Chris Davis.
That's
We all know there's only one bad Mission Impossible movie, okay?
It's not the John Woo one.
Dude?
It is the John Woo one. It is absolutely the John Woo one. All right, let's wrap this show up with the 4-player minute, shall we?
They're all kind
Brad,
Oh, yeah, sure.
it's your turn.
I don't
Go.
like what you said.
Okay. I got a couple things actually. A couple of final thoughts here for my 4-player minute. The first one, maybe it was newsworthy, but I don't think y'all really cared. But it's kind of cool. If you're an old classic RPG fan, there's a dual Kickstarter announced.
yes.
Creators of former people who worked on Wild Arms and Shadow Hearts are bringing are doing spiritual successor to those series in a dual Kickstarter. Have y'all heard of this before?
No, I haven't.
Like the funding is for like both games, I think, and there's like a
Yeah, it's being published by Double Fine.
what is it?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. It's
Okay,
it's
I didn't get that
officially
part.
Double Fine. The two games are called Armed Fantasia and Penny
I
Blood.
was getting there. Armed Fantasia, which is the Wild Arms successor, and Penny Blood, which is the Shadow Hearts successor, and they're both like, they were never like, the cream of the crop like JRPG series, but they were loved. Wild Arms, was the kind of the Western one, and some of those games weren't as cool, but I have fond memories of the original at least. And Shadow Hearts is a series I really like. That's sort of like your dark gothic, but more like modern times. I watched the Kickstarter video and I watched like their concept trailers. I think they're concept trailers where it's kind of showing a little bit of the combat system and stuff. I'm pretty sure that's not actual like gameplay, but more of like target gameplay. And, it kind of reminded me of like, let's say Shadow Hearts Covenant's combat system and maybe like Wild Arms 3's combat system. But you can tell, I don't know. And the actual Kickstarter pitch was very like, goofy and charming, kind of like ever since the Bloodstained Kickstarter pitch video where everyone was like, happy and it was all memey and, Igarashi was like throwing glasses of wine on the ground. I've seen a few of these, right? And they're definitely like appealing towards like, hey, you remember these old games and the old creators and they just really want to make these games. And I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in a lot of these Kickstarter projects, not just because we've been burned a bunch, but because, man, even Bloodstained, which did come out to be like a really like good game, I think, in my opinion. Like it was a really rocky development, and that game felt like it was duct taped together.
Yeah.
Even when it shipped, and like I feel like that's one of like the few like true successes for one of these like older Japanese franchises getting like a spiritual successor. A lot of them have fallen apart. A lot of them, they really kind of like had overblown like the actual involvement of some of these older creators, like the Matsuno one, which I don't even want to mention its name. It's actually out.
Dude, I'm still getting
There's like
email-
30 reviews.
I'm still getting Kickstarter emails from a game that I started kickstarting when I lived with Nolan.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm just kind of like, there's no way that game's not real. It's not coming out.
Yeah.
Well,
on.
Unsung Stories out if you're curious. In early access.
Oh, let me issue a correction. I apologize. It's not actually Double Fine. The Kickstarter is called Double Kickstarter. So I thought that was some reason. Yeah.
Well, double. Yeah. I really didn't think it was Double Fine. I'm assuming that like a lot of these other games, it's going to get, investment from like some Chinese mobile company or something, and they're not going to have to worry about money again. But yeah, like, and that's a good thing. But obviously, I'm kind of still excited about the Suikoden spiritual successor. I really hope that comes together. But even that, I'm not so sure that it's going to. This is a kind of exciting, but I remain highly skeptical at the same time.
Yeah.
And anyways, the other thing real quick, I just wanted to mention, because nobody else on the planet will, is I guess because it was Gamescom time, there was finally a lengthy gameplay trailer for this game called Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. And if you remember me podcast discussions and my Game of the Year videos from last year, I played this game called Tainted Grail Conquest, which was a card game that was, kind of like Slay the Spire card game that was surprisingly good and surprisingly good. And it had like cool presentation. It was like voice acted, like some of the, it was better than I think it had, any right to be, I guess. I don't know. At a first glance, there's a lot of these card games that come out and they're actually not great, but this one was actually pretty darn good, I guess. This is that same developer, I'm pretty sure. And this is just like some weird Oblivion era looking. People are calling this Oblivion at home. But it got me thinking, and this is the reason it's my final thought. It just looks like an old Elder Scrolls game. It's that, like, I almost found it kind of charming. And are we at this point, because there was a point where, like, we were very nostalgic for pixel art. And then we became very nostalgic for, like, low poly, like, PS1 era graphics. And even some games are coming out that are, this is kind of PS2 looking, right? Like indie platformers and stuff. And there's a charm. Are we getting to the point where, like, there could be, like, nostalgia for, like, early 360 era looking games like Oblivion? Because at first I was like, this looks bad. And then I was like, wait, no. Oblivion's cool. This just kind of looks like a game from that era. I don't know. I
think you just answered your own question.
I don't know. I like Oblivion.
The answer is yes.
It's not like Bethesda's making Elder Scrolls games anymore. So I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to go to bat for this thing, but I like that card game a lot, so maybe I'll give it a shot. It's called Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon.
You're the one, Brad. Trailer. You're the one to carry that torch. Yeah. All right, Nolan, why don't you go next?
Bet. My 4-player final countdown starts now. I'm pretty hyped because I finally... I got to my pre-order finally came to fruition for my Steam Deck. So I'm finally getting one. I'm pretty excited for that. Hopefully that gets here soon and I can play some James on it.
Mine got here pretty quick, like within 4 days of paying for
it.
So
good. I'm looking forward to it. In addition to that, Immortality. I still don't know what it is. I still don't know what I want to do with it. It boggles my mind. Like the more it's one of those things where even last night I played it for a little bit, and then I ate dinner, did some other things, and I was kind of like, do I want to sit down and play this right now? Am I in the headspace to play this game right now? And it turns out I was not, so I didn't. I was kind of wanting to play it tonight, but obviously we're doing the podcast. Thankfully, I have tomorrow off, and so I am planning on playing some tomorrow. So looking forward to seeing what else that game has.
Nolan, that first night, I had crazy dreams. Like specifically immortality related, like dreams, like that mechanic, that weirdness, like is happening in my dreams.
So some of the stuff that maybe you're alluding to, Brad, is actually kind of maybe a reason Bernadette doesn't want to play the game with me anymore. Because of that reason in particular that we can't get into. So I asked her earlier, and I'm not sure if, like I said, she might just want me to give her the rundown afterwards instead of being around during it. Because
I was thinking about like maybe Malia is not into this as well. Like maybe I just need to play this in my own time, honestly, myself.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, that's mine.
Cool. Crispy.
I don't have anything. Brad took mine. His 4-player minute went too long, and it took up all my time.
My hype for Crispy is that I'm excited to hear his opinions on him.
We're actually making quite a good time, Crispy.
Here's the thing, man. Immortality, like, I am fucking terrified now. Like you were just talking about, like, am I in the right headspace to boot this up? I'm never gonna be there. I was
That's why
just
you should
thinking.
do it.
I was just thinking about look, oh, the little notification popped up on my taskbar that's like, hey, we installed Immortality. It's ready for you to play, and I'm like, cool. I'll get to that whenever. Like
Wait,
no.
wait. What about right now?
Well, we're doing a podcast right now, Brad.
No, like right after the podcast.
I don't know. I don't know.
What the
I don't
fuck,
know.
dude?
I don't know.
Brad's like, just close the podcast now and go play
It's
it.
September 1st, I have seasonal affective disorder or something.
Yeah, it's Halloween time. You know, play some
Is it-
Immortality.
Officially Halloween time.
Yeah,
man.
I should. I don't know.
Like,
Well, if
don't.
you ever
What
get
are you doing? Like,
I don't know.
shut up.
I don't-
Get out of your
I
head.
don't know what
Shut
I'm
up and
doing.
play it. Jesus fucking Christ.
Like,
watch Parasite. Why is
I-
it 2 years since Parasite came out?
what are you talking about? I've seen Parasite a bunch
I
of
know,
times.
but that was the conversation we were having
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's funny.
Took you a weirdly long time to watch.
Oh, yeah, and now I haven't seen Nope. I almost called it Up.
Oh, is that the new one?
I
Yeah.
haven't
Is
seen
that on
Nope
demand?
yet, and everyone's
has
mad
Nope
at
on
me.
Is that on demand?
It's funny. Pizza Rizzo in chat says Crispy is in his hoodie. It's officially fall. I was like, I don't think so.
The
It's
leaves
still
are
pretty.
changing color.
The leaves are changing color, but it's still pretty disgusting outside, like in terms of heat and humidity.
I love it. It's soup season.
I am glad it's September. All right, Chris Davis, your turn.
I'm splitting mine in half, and it's a kind of a half hype, half sweat. Start with the sweat. So last week when we were doing our Gamescom stream or Gamescom podcast, I mentioned that I was particularly excited about admittedly, it was a cinematic trailer for a game called Stranded: Alien Dawn.
Yes, you
And
did. You did say that.
And the concept was you crash land on an alien planet, and it looked, from my perspective, kind of like it wanted to be like Subnautica but on land. And that seemed very exciting to me. And it's
Okay.
also from Haimont, the developers behind Tropico. So I was like, that's weird, but okay. Ow, can't stop. So the media got previews of it a couple days ago, and they just been publishing it, and they're sharing screenshots, and it is 100% not what I was hoping for this game.
Damn.
It's a lot of isometric stuff with base building that just, no
Doesn't
offense
do it
to them,
for
but
you.
it kind of looks fucking generic as shit. And it's just, what I'm reading, it just does not grab me at all. So I am real disappointed about this.
It's okay. There's still a lot of other stuff to be excited about,
Yeah, like
no,
Alpha
there's plenty.
Protocol.
like Alpha Protocol, which won the revival clip.
Well, we'll see about Alpha Protocol. That's another topic for another day. But my hype this week is another Gamescom announcement that got only a little bit of press, but deserves some attention. So, y'all know 10 Chambers, the developers behind GTFO.
Yeah, we know them.
The ones
I
that
know
we,
10 Chambers very well.
Yeah,
We know of them.
they gave us all those cool hats, and Nick never wore a single one of them.
I
Well,
don't wear hats. We had this conversation today.
yeah, we
about me
did.
not wearing hats.
Yeah, and Brad was
Also,
trying to
it's like,
defend
yeah.
you.
I also asked,
Nick,
do beanies count?
Sure. Nick, I don't understand why you don't want to wear a hat that says get the fuck out on it. Why don't you want to go to HEB and wear a hat that says get the fuck out?
I mean,
Yeah,
to be
why
honest,
don't you?
I mean, that's exactly the kind of hat I'd want to wear. Like, how chummy are you getting with your fellow shoppers?
Yeah. So,
Don't talk to me.
10 Chambers is made up of ex-Overkill developers, the guys behind Payday and Payday 2. And they announced that they have started work on a new title. It's going to be a cooperative heist shooter. And I'm like,
sounds like Payday.
fuck yeah. Give me Payday 2.5. Because they're already making Payday 3. So let's see what they can make out of this. So
So
I
you're
am
hyped 'cause
definitely hyped
that
for
the
that.
guys that made that one cooperative heist shooter are making another cooperative heist shooter.
Well, I mean, GTFO, you could call it a heist, but it's more of a horror game.
No. I'm saying the game that they announced is a cooperative heist shooter, which got you excited.
Yes.
But the people that made this also made another cooperative heist shooter that you are already a fan of.
Yes.
So you're excited they're making another one that's
Well-
not called the same thing as the first one.
Well, they can't
I'm just
call it that
clarifying.
because
I'm
of
just
legal
making sure
reasons.
I understand.
Obviously, but it's you do realize it has been nearly 10 years since Payday 2 came out.
I did not
So-
realize that, but it sounds about right.
Yeah, so 10 Chambers
Well, I'm happy
having
for it.
left Overkill and Starbreeze years ago, like who knows what they can come up with now that they're not held back by those restrictions.
All right.
Hopefully they'll
Cool.
start making 5 Wolfenstein games.
Well, that's another conversation we had earlier this week, Brad, and we can get into that, but suffice to
Take
say,
the bait,
No,
Chris Davis.
We're good.
yeah.
My 4-player minute starts now. It's a hype and a sweat. My hype, it's Labor Day weekend, and it's also The Last of Us Part 1 weekend. I'm getting my copy tomorrow, which means my 3-day weekend will be at least partially filled with me blasting through the original Last of Us again, and seeing all the improvements they made, which is exciting. I'm always excited to play through that game again. Also, on a related note, we haven't really mentioned it before, but they finally showed a little bit of footage from the HBO show. And even though it was very, very brief, it looked very, very promising, in my opinion. That is still, like, perhaps the most exciting thing on the horizon for me as far as television goes. And I'm very, 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 very eager to see more. But yeah, The Last of Us, man. I love The Last of Us, so I'm very excited. It's a 3-day weekend. I'm going to play some video games. I'm going to play some Sifu. And when I need to chill, I'm going to play The Last of Us. And I'm probably going to blow through that whole thing this weekend. So I'll talk about that on next week's podcast. My sweat, though, is that I took a gander. I was taking a look at my release schedule, right, to kind of see what's coming out that I know I'm going to want to play. September, kind of sparse. Not a ton. Last of Us, I'm going to play Steel Rising, but that's okay because I got a bunch of stuff I'm still working through. But then I took a gander at October, and holy fuck, October is just fucktober. It is packed.
Let's hear
with,
it. Let's hear it, Nick.
I mean, hold on. I didn't really have my list pulled up, but I can pull up
Well,
my
then
list.
what were you going to mention here?
I was just going to mention, it's just, hold on. It doesn't take long to pull it up. Sorry, you're right. I probably should have been prepared. I should have had the list ready to go, but I didn't. All right. So October is fucking, here we go. Mario plus Rabbids, A Plague Tale Requiem, Signalis, Bayonetta 3, Gotham Knights, Resident Evil Village DLC, Scorn, which comes out of Game Pass. I don't know if I'm going to play that, but if it gets any good thing at all, I'm going to play it. And, that's just what and then Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, that's coming out. I don't know if I'm going to play it, but that's a thing that's happening.
Did you mention Plague Tale?
I did mention Plague Tale. But the thing is all those games that I just mentioned come out between October 18th and the end of the month. So it's all the end of October. Just rapid fire shot of all these games. And I want to play, I'm pretty hyped to play a lot of those. So it's going to be
and you'll probably play Bayonetta 3 as well.
No, I said Bayonetta 3.
No, I know. I'm just saying you're hyped to play a lot of those.
Yeah.
And you'll play Bayonetta 3 as well.
I think though the game that I'm most excited to play in October is Signalis. I'm super hyped. Although I got ahead of myself. In my head, I was thinking that game came out at the end of September, which I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get that right before I go on vacation in October. I'm gonna be out of town for about 2 weeks. And I was like, that'll be a perfect Steam Deck game to take on a trip. No, it's October, so fuck me. But yeah, man, October's crazy. October is fucking wild. It kind of makes me hope that Gotham Knights is a disappointment, so I can maybe
Shut up.
wait on that. I don't want it to be disappointing.
Shut the fuck up, Nick.
I want it to
Don't
be
you
good.
put that evil on a fucking game that you don't
Or
care
you're
about.
hoping Bayonetta to be a disappointment, right?
I don't want any of these games to be disappointment, man. I want them all to be great. Who knows if they're going to be, but, I want them all to be great. The point is, October looks fun as hell. It's a little overwhelming. And you know what, guys? That is it. That is our show. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. Again, I want to remind everybody, if you are interested in winning a copy of Anno Mutationum on Switch, I got 3 codes to give away. I'm going to give away 1 per week for the next 3 weeks. All you got to do is leave us a comment on the YouTube video or on the post on 4playernetwork.com. Let us know what your favorite Jimmy of the year is, your favorite underrated game that you think isn't getting enough attention. Tell us why. And be sure to mention giveaway entry in your post, in your comment, so I know that you're also leaving that comment because you're interested in winning the game. Again, Revival Club is Alpha Protocol. We'll start that in September. I'm going to make a channel for it in Discord at discord.gg/4player, and we'll start having conversations about the best way to play that game, because obviously there's going to be a few hoops to kind of jump through to get that running if you're interested in playing. But if you are interested, go to patreon.com/4player. You can support us at the $3 tier or higher, or you can just subscribe to our Twitch channel, which will give you access to the channels that you need in Discord. But with that, guys, have a safe holiday weekend. Hopefully, you're enjoying a long 3-day weekend. And be good to each other, play video games, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.